Hi everyone, and I am here for a big old book haul. This is an accumulation of books that I bought with Christmas money, books I received as Christmas gifts, and then my dad is planning on retiring and really is weeding down his library to only his absolute most favorites, and so has been going through his books. So I have been very willing to take some books off his hands. And the reason that this is coming out, it'll be the last day of February when this goes up, is that I did order some books from Book Depository and they got lost in the mail. But I emailed Book Depository and they replaced them and I received the replacements. So I was very pleased that customer service, was really good for that. So the first thing that my dad was getting rid of that I took him up on was his P.D. James collection. So I'll hold up these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books are all in the same edition, which I really like these. So not the whole Adam Dalgliesh set is in this edition, but 7 of them are. So or some of them are Adam Dalgliesh. Anyhow, The Death of an Expert Witness. I'm going to be going through these pretty rapidly because there's a lot of books to get through. Unnatural Causes. Cover Her Face, which this one I have read, and it's the very first one in the Adam Dalgliesh books. The Black Tower, which I actually watched half of this episode. There's there was a TV adaptation of these and I was really intrigued and then just didn't finish it. So I want to read the book now. Shroud for a Nightingale. And then she also has a little duology series with the detective Cordelia Gray. I think there's only 2 in it. And this title I just love so much, An Unsuitable Job for a Woman. It's usually not talking about murder, And then the other one is called The Skull Beneath the Skin. So then more in the Adam Dalgliesh ones. This one is A Taste for Death. Then we have The Murder Room, which I have read this one before, and I'm sort of middling on it. Then The Lighthouse. Innocent Blood. You can tell this one is from a long time ago, and I love this picture of her when she was younger. She just looks really beautiful there. Then this one is The Maul and the Pear Tree. This is actually a true crime. So I don't know if I'm cut out for this, but it's based on a murder in the Georgian era. The Ratcliffe Highway murders in 1811. And this is the culprit, John Williams, drawn in the prison cell. This is soon after he was hung. They drew him. So I'm not sure if I'm cut out for that one. I might start reading and get a feel of it, but usually true crime just does not sit with my spirit well. The Private Patient. One that I read years ago with Sarai from Sarai Talks Books, and we both really liked, was A Certain Justice. And the ones that I'm middling on, I'm not sure if I'll keep, but the ones that I really liked, I'll definitely keep. Devices and Desires. Original Sin. And then one you may have heard me talk about a few times, Death and Holy Orders. This is a really nice edition of this, so I might actually get rid of my other one and get it. And then 2 just really lovely little editions of her short story collections. So Sleep No More. This is the US cover. And then The Mistletoe Murder and Other Stories. So those are all of the P.D. James books that I was given. Now moving on, a lot of this is I ordered a bunch of books from Abe Books, Book Depository, and some of the ordering from Abe Books worked out. Some I'm not really all that thrilled about. And then some is from the used bookstore at the library that I go to. So first is Bound by Donna Jo Napoli. So this ticks several boxes. It's just working out. It's going to be read in March. This is a Cinderella retelling, so obviously for my Cinderella Chronicles project. And then for, it's set in medieval China, so that works for reading through the ages. And it is a middle grade book. So for middle grade March, that works as well. So everything's coming together for this book to be read next month. Okay, then a couple Persephone classics. The first one is Someone at a Distance by Dorothy Whipple. I have just been told by so many people that Dorothy Whipple is an author I would enjoy. And this is, I'm pretty sure it's about a husband who leaves his wife and kind of the ramifications of that and how the family deals with it. So I'll be curious about it. And then one called Greenery Street by Denis Mackail. And this is about a young couple in their early years of marriage. Okay, so that one, you know, it has a little bit of wear and tear there. But I feel like overall it's pretty good. This one, however, I was like, this should not be marked as good. I just think it looks rather rough around the edges. But that is The Diary of a Provincial Lady by E.M. Delafield. Again, a lot of people who know my reading taste have told me I would really like this. And I thought it was interesting. I think there are several. Yeah, there's The Diary of a Provincial Lady, The Provincial Lady Goes Further, The Provincial Lady in America, and The Provincial Lady in Wartime. So it is in diary format. And it just looks to be a really fun, easy to pick up read. I would probably want to read it in springtime. So then I wanted to get some more of Elizabeth von Arnim's books, and I picked up Vera. This is what some people claim Rebecca is plagiarized from, but then I heard from, I think, Mel at Mel's Bookland Adventures and Anne from Beyond the Pages both said it had some similarities, but they didn't think it felt like Daphne du Maurier, you know, had just plucked her own story out of it. Rebecca felt very distinct from it, but they both really enjoyed this, so I'm definitely looking forward to reading that. And then I want to get back to reading some Willa Cather, although I don't know, with how my mood has been lately, I've just been wanting to read tons of genre fiction. So I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to read what I want to read, and these will be here when I want to. So I lucked out getting the edition I wanted with one of these books, and that's Sapphira and the Slave Girl. And this is set in the antebellum South. So the mistress in the house is Sapphira. And then she has a slave named Nancy. And then Sapphira's daughter, Rachel, is an abolitionist and opposes her mother, you know, having a slave. So it sounds like there will be lots of interesting kind of social commentary in there. Not the edition I wanted, but it was in good condition. Shadows on the Rock. Emma from Bookish Princess really made me want to read this. This is set in Quebec in the 17th century, so kind of a really interesting picture of Canada at that time. And I'm looking forward to that. Then A Lost Lady. This has one of those evil, it came like this. I didn't peel that off, like those stickers that just don't ever go off, but it's whatever. And I'm looking forward to trying this one too. This one I was not happy with at all because it has the really thick, like, library plasticky stuff on it, so I know for pictures it's not going to want to cooperate. But it's Lucy Gayheart by Willa Cather. I think this is about a woman who is really has musical kind of ambitions and is very talented, and what becomes of her life through that. Then an author that I wanted to try, you know what, I'll stack all of his books together because I wanted to talk about all of them together. Okay, April's Country. So if you remember when I did my like 2019 channel goals, I have that calendar and each month has a different country. And so the country for April that I want to read for is Argentina. I'm not really looking forward to it. Latin literature and I'm just very intimidated by it. And I have a good hunch that I just don't know how much I'm going to get along with it. But when I was offered a free book of Jorge Luis Borges, I hope that's how you say it, collected fiction, so his short stories, I felt hopefully those would be maybe, I don't know, less overwhelming, being short stories and not a big chunky novel. So I think I'm going to pick out, you know, X number of stories to try. And if I'm liking them, I'll keep going. If not, no harm, no foul. Then some books that are just, I think would be great to have on a coffee table. I'm not sure if I'll read through them, but they were just so pretty. If I do ever visit England, then maybe I'll look through these. So this first one is called The English Countryside. I love those covers, and it has, how are things divided up here? Hills and walls, moors and fells, mountains and lakes, sands and heaths, fens and levels, the coastlands, valleys and orchards, the hedge checkerwork, the evolution of the countryside. What's neat is it is, all of those chapters are written by different authors, which I think is very, very cool. And the other one that was in a similar vein is English Villages and Hamlets. So lots of little wonderful places tucked away that should be visited. And let's see, this one is divided up. And this is part of the British Heritage series. So this one is all by the same author, G.M. Young. I think that's who it is. Okay, then at the library bookstore, this was right when I was reading The Tale of Despero by Kate DiCamillo and really enjoying it. So I picked up The Magician's Elephant. And I think this could be a really nice read aloud with Peter. It has some neat pictures in there. Yes, but it involves a circus and an elephant, obviously, and a magician. So I thought those were all elements that could make for a really good children's story. Then we have Virgil Wander, a novel by Leif Enger. So Leif Enger is the author of Peace Like a River, which I haven't read yet, but I got this in good faith that I would like it. And I just thought it was a really nice, really pretty copy. So I wanted to you know, kind of use that opportunity that I found to get it. Then one that I have wanted for years, and these books are so hard to track down. So when this arrived and in impeccable condition, I was very pleased because the only way you can get it is used. They are out of print. And this is Down the Garden Path by Beverly Nichols. I first heard about Beverly Nichols, I'm pretty sure, from Simon, who does the Tea or Books podcast. Beverly Nichols does just really engaging writing about gardens and nature, and this is just supposed to be a book that is so winsome and engaging, and I will definitely be reading it this spring. You know, it's at the end of February, I'm thinking about what books I want to read this spring. And then I'll show you briefly. There's an illustration, I think it's for each season. And one of the main characters is named Arthur. So like my little Arthur, although I think it's supposed to be kind of a really annoying character. So we'll see how I feel about there being a character named that. But yeah, here's just one of the little illustrations. But I've just heard amazing things about Beverly Nichols, and I was really pleased to find this for a good price online. So if I like this, I'll definitely be hunting down some more Beverly Nichols books. Okay, grabbing the next stack here. Okay, I found a really nice arc of Susanna Kearsley's Bellwether. So I'll be reading this at some point soon. I read The Winter Sea this past month, so a review will be up for that soon, but I'm really looking forward to reading another Susanna Kearsley. Then I was so excited to find this beautiful edition of Little Princess. It's one of the like Barnes & Noble children's classics. And with their adult classics that are so gargantuan, I don't always, you know, like books that are that chunky. So for a children's classic, though, it's really conducive, and I love the silver edges on this. So I will be reading this for middle grade March. I'm so excited. The one thing I was really bummed about is I do not like the illustrations at all. They're by Ethel Franklin Betts. I don't know if these were the original ones, but I am not a fan. I don't like them. So I love this edition, however, so I'm really happy about that. My dad was getting rid of this modern library edition of Les Mis, and I have read Les Mis, and I wanted a really nice copy. So if I ever want to read it again, I have it, and it's really nice to remember reading this book. Another middle grade that I found was Mr. Popper's Penguins. This is by Richard and Florence Atwater. This is one that my dad read aloud to us as a kid. It's about a man named Mr. Popper, and he is a house painter, so he's busy a lot of the year except for wintertime, and he has sent 12 penguins. And it's just the adventures that Mr. Popper and Mrs. Popper and the 12 penguins have, and it's so much fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, I'm planning on reading that aloud to Peter, so I can't wait to kind of revisit that story again. And then my dad was getting rid of The Last Chronicle of Barset by Anthony Trollope, and the Penguin Black Spine editions of the Barsetshire Chronicles are the ones that I was collecting, and obviously I'll be getting to The Last Chronicle of Barset, so I was very excited to be able to own this now. Okay, next stack. Okay, some Wallace Stegner. He's an author I've wanted to try for a while. So I have here Crossing to Safety, and then I have Angle of Repose, Wolf Willow, Where the Bluebird Sings to the Lemonade Springs. That's a wonderful title. Living and Writing in the West. So this is sort of his sort of memoir about writing and, you know, where he lives. And then this is a biography. So if I love Wallace Stegner, I might read it. And it's Wallace Stegner, His Life and Work by Jackson J. Benson. That is those are my Wallace Stegner acquisitions. All right. Next, my dad was getting rid of a hardcover of Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. I really enjoyed this book last year, and I wanted to own a copy of it anyway. This is one I'll definitely be rereading at some point, so I was really pleased to have that copy. Then one that I think I had heard talked about on Jen Campbell's channel was When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit by Judith Kerr. She was a Jewish German, and this book is about her experiences as a child living in Nazi Germany and then fleeing to, I'm pretty sure it was France, and then Switzerland, and then they lived in the UK. I could be wrong about some of the details, but this is one I'm hoping to get to in middle grade March. And I know that Judith Kerr, the author, her son watched The Sound of Music, and he said, wow, I didn't know, you know, that was what World War II was like. But she thought it was a little bit too glamorized, so she wanted to write something that she felt a bit more realistic, but still appropriate for children. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. Then one that was on my iHeartathon TBR. So some of you may have seen this, but this is A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. This is just a very quiet book, and it's a look at a soldier goes to this small little hamlet in England and spends a summer uncovering a giant medieval, what is it called? Medieval wall painting in the church. And this kind of finds it to be a time of healing, being in this quiet little village. I am approximately 15 pages into it, but there's only 100 pages, so that's actually a bit of a chunk into it, and really just was kind of blown away by the writing that I had there. I also mentioned this at iHeartathon, Joy in the Morning, and this is about a young married couple, and he is in law school, and it's just about the very early years of their marriage, how they can be kind of tough and things are tight financially, but kind of how they grow through that process. And then one, I can't remember if I've just shown this on Instagram or if I've shown it on BookTube as well, Hannah Coulter by Wendell Berry. This is a buddy read with Charlotte from Tired Mama Tries to Read, but I've been the worst buddy reader this month. I'm about 3 weeks behind Charlotte, I think. So bad. but I only have about 24 pages left. So I really am so close, but I've just been so slowly savoring it, soaking it up. It's an amazing book. So I think that was a purchase that was well worth it. Then two authors that I kind of had as people that were recommended to me so Dorothy Whipple was one of the authors, so I guess three. Then Elizabeth Taylor. So I picked out Mrs. Palfrey at the Claremont. I think this is one of her more lighthearted ones, but something about it just made me feel like it would be a good first one to start with. And I think it's just a kind of quiet book, but has some funny parts to it too. And I've just heard wonderful things about Elizabeth Taylor. The other author was Penelope Lively. For those of you who follow Bookstagram accounts, Beth Bonini is the one who just adores Penelope Lively. This is The Road to Litchfield, and the main character is Anne Linton, and there's a lot of kind of moving parts to her life, and her father has had a stroke, and so she's trying to travel between the city and the country a lot, and just kind of how that affects her life in that time. So this is the one that I picked to start Penelope Lively with. There's one that was very tempting as well called My Life in the Garden, which she does a lot of gardening, and so it's her memoir. And if I like this, I will definitely be getting My Life in the Garden. Then the other two Elizabeth von Arnim that I got were Fräulein Schmidt and Mr. Anstruther, and this is narrated in it's in epistolary format, so letters, and I really enjoy books in that format, and I really have high hopes about this. And then one that's kind of a bummer is Elizabeth and Her German Garden. This is one that is in diary format. I think I was getting them mixed up, or maybe it's not. Yes, it is in diary format, but guess what? I'm going to show you the first page of this book. I want you to take, this is the first page, okay? And do you see what it says there? 19. It says 19. The first 18 pages of this book are missing. But by the time I emailed them to say, I wanted to return this, I had lost the slip. So I'll just have to buy it again if I really want to. I don't know. The audiobook is on Hoopla. I was just very annoyed once I realized that the first 18 pages were missing. When does that ever happen when you buy a book? Then I have completed my E.F. Benson's Map and Lucia series, which I've been wanting to do for a while. I bought the first one, the first bind up 2 years ago, and I'm really excited to continue on. So the next two are Lucia in London and Map and Lucia. Map and Lucia when they finally meet and sparks fly. I think they have a very contentious relationship. They're kind of frenemies. Then The Worshipful Lucia and Trouble for Lucia. Those I definitely want to read some of in spring. Then Edna Ferber is an author who I want to read more of. I read Giant by her. It's one of my favorite books. I also own So Big, so I need to read that, even though ironically it is a small book. But I decided also to get Showboat. I was really interested in the setting of this, which is on a riverboat on the Mississippi River. And it's set during the 1920s. And the main character is Magnolia Hawks, spends her childhood aboard the Cotton Blossom, growing up amid simmering racial tension and struggling to survive life on the Mississippi. When she falls in love, blah, 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 kind of her life story. So I really am looking forward to this. Like I said, Giant is one of my favorite books, and I had more of her books on my wish list for years. So that was the one I decided to acquire next. Then I got a copy of The Borrowers, which I, honest to goodness, cannot remember if I read this as a child. But definitely want to read this aloud to Peter when he's old enough. This one, I think maybe like an 8-year-old could listen to it. I think that's kind of the read aloud age that I kind of guessed from looking at this. But in case you don't know, The Borrowers is about this really, really these tiny people who live underneath the floorboards in a house. And there's a whole series. I think there's 6 in the series. One that I reviewed for my Reading Through the Ages challenge, and is a new favorite book, is The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spear. So my dad was getting rid of this, and I was very excited to own it. So I just loved this book so much. It was a great start to the Reading Through the Ages challenge. Then a memoir that was made into a movie with Haley Mills is The Flame Trees of Thika by Elspeth Huxley. This, I think, is just an incredibly literary memoir, and it's about her time. It just says Africa. I don't think it's giving... Oh, an unforgettable portrait of growing up amongst the Maasai and Kikuyu peoples. So the rugged pioneer life. It sounds really great. I've read little tidbits out of it and have gotten very excited. All right, we're getting up to 30 minutes. Ugh. We're going to do rapid fire now. A couple mysteries. Ruth Rendell's The Master of the Moor. I love that title. This is a really short one. It is not even 200 pages. It's a standalone novel, and there is a murder. So we'll see what happens next with that. Then I accepted a couple Peter Lovesey books. I have not read any Peter Lovesey mysteries. So I got The Reaper. Take the sticky note off that one. The Last Detective and Diamond Dust. So Peter Lovesey, I've heard, is just a really fabulous literary mystery writer. Then I have Old School by Tobias Wolff. This is a book set in a prep school in England in the 1960s. So I thought that sounded like a very interesting setting. Then a buddy read opportunity for a subscriber out there. This is not a very nice edition, but A Girl of the Limberlost by Jean Stratton Porter is one that I read when I was in high school at some point, and I absolutely loved it, but I totally forgot about it for many years, and I have remembered it, and I want to read it again. But after I bought this, my mom offered me her hardbacks, and I have accepted those because there's Freckles, and then I can't remember the name of the other book by Jean Stratton Porter. So if someone is interested in buddy reading A Girl of the Limberlost and having a very sturdy copy, but not the most glamorous, and I think you're going to have to do the hairdryer trick with this sticker here, full disclosure, then I would love to buddy read this with someone. So kind of if there is someone, the first comment that I see saying, you want to read that with me, I will be happy to ship that to you free of charge because it's not that expensive to send one book. Then some really, really pretty ones I have to show you. 4 new source books, Ellen Montgomery books. I'm really, really excited for these. The first is Magic for Marigold, and Marigold is a character not that unlike Anne Shirley. She's very imaginative, and I think her family can be kind of frustrated with how her head can be in the clouds so much. Really looking forward to this. Then A Tangled Web. This is a standalone book, and there's a really iconic jug that this family just loves. And the woman who it belonged to has passed away, and in her will, it's going to say who she wants it to go to, except that she has made the provision that they have to wait a year before they find out who it goes to. And so I think it's just kind of the happenings in this family while they're waiting that time. Yeah, topsy-turvy is the phrase I just saw. So I just love these Jackie Oakley covers, and Ellen Montgomery is one of my absolute favorite authors. And I have really enjoyed Jane of Lantern Hill and The Blue Castle. Those were her other books that I read. And then Mistress Pat and Pat of Silverbush. So I love those 2 covers. Have I mentioned how much I love those covers? Okay, then lastly, my friend Kate from the Novel Nomad. We exchange Christmas presents, and she has hooked me up this year. She got me a book that she had raved about called The Women in Black by Madeline St. John, about women who work in the ladies' frock department. You've heard me talk about this book. I don't need to say much more about it. And then one that we are currently reading, and I need to read today's chapters, but called Come Hell or High Ball, about Lola Woodby, who is recently widowed, and then she's trying to figure out ways to make money while she's staying at a certain estate. A body is found and she becomes a suspect. So she and her maid Berta end up investigating together while they're kind of forming the Discreet Retrieval Agency. I think that is the name of it. Then she gifted me The Beast Garden by Kate Forsyth, which is a World War II Beauty and the Beast retelling that I really, really enjoyed. And she gave me 2 more Kate Forsyth books. So Kate is hooking me up. And the first is called The Silver Well. This is by Kate Forsyth and Kim Wilkins. And this is a short story collection. And I do not always try hard to read short stories, but what I love about this is they are magical short stories, and there is an illustration for each one. So I think kind of like magical realism, or just straight up like fairy tale feel. And I'm so into fairy tales lately. It's just lovely, and signed as well. So lovely. And then she also got me Beauty in Thorns, which is set in the pre-Raphaelite era. And it's a Sleeping Beauty retelling, which I think underneath Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty or Snow White are the next ones that I like. I really like those. Yeah. So those are my crazy book acquisitions. Hopefully things will calm down. And this video has gone on long enough, so I'm going to leave it there. But, you know, talk to me in the comments if there are books there that you liked. Maybe there's somebody out there that wants to buddy read The Girl of the Limberlost with me. And I will see you guys for another video soon. Bye.